completely new, completely different than what kind of has been the norm from around here. Takes a little bit more time, and so we just wanted to make sure we're getting our foundations right and being able to build and add to that as the time comes. Really didn't want to rush through the process of it. We don't want to be the jack of all trades and the master of none. So I think we've done a good job of kind of pacing ourselves. Threw a little bit on them a little bit early, and then we kind of scaled some things back, and then started really kind of trying to be really precise about how we added and what we added as we moved forward.
We've heard a little bit about RPO, maybe slowing progression, whether it's with the quarterbacks or the receivers, in terms of learning how that needs to work. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that's one of the things we kind of scaled back, and just trying to make sure that, as you start teaching this RPO type game, you got to make sure that we understand coverages, we understanding where things are happening, our eyes are in the right spot, and understanding how to adapt routes versus certain looks, and being able to take advantage of what you're getting. So, for us, I think being able to kind of pull the reins back a little bit on that end of it, and really focusing in on making sure quarterback-wise we're getting our eyes in the right spot, and being able to determine what's going to make me do something or not going to make me do something. And then we'll continue to keep generating and working off of that.
So you came here, you guys had 7 offensive linemen and only 1 returning starter. Where do you see the 9 guys you brought in and how they meshed in?
Offensive line, I think, has been a real positive surprise throughout the spring. I think the guys that we've been able to add to that room have made an impact. I think we're more athletic than what we've been. I think those guys are moving well. I think they understand what we're doing up front. Love the way they're approaching practice every day. I think that has been one of our strong suits throughout spring ball, and so we got to continue to keep doing that. Obviously, we're 2/3 of the way through it, and those guys, we've added a little bit more to them. Those guys have made those adjustments. We want to see them continue to keep raising the bar every day, continue to keep finishing blocks, and understanding what that's going to generate for us later.
And how much does it add, considering you brought one of your own guys with you?
Yeah, I think Dylan's done a nice job, as well as those other guys, and I think those guys are really starting to mesh as a unit. I think Coach Thornton's done a great job with them. Right now, those guys, to me, are still our strength, and that's where you want it to be, in my opinion. As you start building an offense or you're building a team, it all starts in the trenches. And those guys gelling and coming together, getting on the same page, it's going to be a positive move for us.
Was it a surprise to have Tate Johnson kind of back out there a week ago? He was saying that he was probably going to miss the rest of the spring, and then yesterday we saw him running with that first unit with the line again.
No, it's great to have him back. I mean, he provides such great leadership. He's a guy that works extremely hard, takes a lot of pride about his work and the way he approaches things. And so having him back is just kind of a bolt in the arm for us. And I know he's still going to be some limited in what he can do right now, but just having back in the mix is a positive thing for us right now.
How valuable is Avery been coming in and having that veteran presence in the middle, especially when you're learning systems?
Yeah, I think with him, he's taken a lot of snaps, right? And so he's not being surprised by a lot of the different looks and things that we're getting right now from our defense, which has been great. And so a guy that can handle those duties, can make a lot of calls as a quarterback, getting good snaps and knowing where those things are going to be, and especially in the game that we want to play in the RPO system. You start spraying snaps all over the place, and then that's going to affect the way you are able to run your offense. So I think his veteran presence in there has been really significant, and will continue to be that way.
You talked about the RPO and how important that is for the quarterbacks. What are some of the checkpoints that you're kind of looking at? What's the importance of being patient with them right now? What are you kind of looking to see from them by the end of the spring?
Yeah, it's new to all of them, and there's a lot of different elements and variations of things that you've got to really concentrate on and work through. Number one is putting our eyes in the right spot and putting our eyes on the right guy and understanding what the defense is trying to do or take away from you or where they're trying to add. But then, the path that you're setting for the back, our footwork, if we're starting to pull the football and we want to throw it, all of those things come into play in this. And so that's all going to happen in a matter of that fast. And so being able to correlate those things, getting back to base after I get into this right position and getting my feet back on platform and being able to be in a position to be accurate with the football and release it in a timely manner. It's not one of those things you're going to be able to sit back there and pat the football. You got to come up and be decisive in your decision and know where you're going with it.
The importance of this is because once they get on the field, the RPO game is basically on them, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
It is. It's the huge part of what you do, right? And it's always that cat and mouse game that you're playing with the defense and trying to figure out where can I take advantage or what are they giving up to get to the point where they want to be. So it's a give and take type system, and a lot of that goes on our quarterbacks, and that's, I don't see that as pressure. I see that most of the guys that play this position, they want the ownership of that, and now it's just making sure that you're giving them enough reins, but you're not giving so much that you're always in that tussle back and forth, and we're making good decisions with the football.
One of the things Hugh said last week was that Ashford's, I guess his game is kind of difficult to appreciate in practice because, you guys don't tackle in practice. When he pulls down, you kind of stop the play. So how do you kind of like look at that and, I guess, gauge what his speed would look like in a...
Well, there's some opportunities in there where, the whistle's being blown, and that's part of spring ball, and quarterbacks have got to understand that part, right? And sometimes it's frustrating, especially when you're a guy like Robbie who has a lot of athletic ability to him. And so when he breaks out of that pocket, good things can really happen for us. So you don't get to see that aspect or that element that's going to play into games throughout spring ball, so you have to be sure that you're looking at that in the proper way when you're starting to evaluate things and moving forward. And so, Robbie is a tremendous athlete, and when things break down, boy, he can really make some plays with his feet. So we'll continue to keep seeing that part of it, and there's elements within our offense that are going to be able to allow him to use those things. It's just, again, even in the quarterback run stuff, you're going to blow the whistle early, and those guys are not going to get hit. And I think he probably would have got through that one, or he would have made this guy miss, and that guy just touches him. Well, whether he really makes that tackle or not, it's to be determined.
Coach, can you talk about the tight ends, how they're developing and how big a part of offense?
Yeah, I've really been impressed with our tight ends here. I mean, all of those guys have added different layers to us, and to be able to maneuver within different sets. And so if you say, hey, we're going to throw in 12 personnel right here, you're thinking more heavy sets, but being able to have the ability to be in 12 personnel but also be in more traditional or 11 and 10 type sets is a huge advantage for us. And so I think we have the skill set in the tight end room to be able to take advantage of that opportunity. We're starting to use some of that right now in what we're doing. Rivaldo had a nice catch yesterday, kind of towards the end of practice. But Luke and Fromm and Frazier, all those guys have done an outstanding job of just understanding the offense, knowing what it is, how it works, and how we're going to be able to use them in different ways.
Are you a two quarterback guy? Would you prefer a single starter? What's your...
I'm going to let that to be determined on what our personnel looks like as we enter the season, right? I mean, I've had it to where we've been a two quarterback system. We've had a one quarterback system. It's really one quarterback with a package set. The other quarterback's got the full set. But we'll just have to wait and see how spring kind of revolves a little bit, and then you get into the summer, you get into fall camp, and you kind of see where this thing is trending, and we'll go from there.